When is the Fed going to signal that raising interest rates is done? Now, I have a lot of opinions on this, but I'll give some of the best data I can give you ultimately, okay? Of course, like usual, I have some of my notes, okay? March 17th of this year, the Federal Reserve bumped the Fed funds rate 25 basis points, and all of a sudden people started becoming experts in what basis points were. Then May 5th, they bumped it to 50 basis points. Now, the truth was that back in 2021, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, talked about being very aggressive and possibly raising the Fed funds rate 11 times over the next 18 months. So they were talking the big game. You got to understand, a lot of what they say, the question becomes how much is just rhetoric and just, they're just talking to scare everybody, because what they say has a big effect on the market, even if they don't follow through on it. And then the question was, that's strong to say 11 raises in 18 months. That's ridiculous, okay? Well, then they started dipping their toes in the water in the early part of 2022. Only a 25 basis point increase, which the market kind of knew that wasn't the case. In my industry, the mortgage industry, we went from giving rates in the 2s and 3s to suddenly we were in the 4s and 5s. We had almost a doubling of interest rates with only a 25 and a 50 basis point increase on the Fed funds rate. That's because my industry in the secondary market was really preparing for, hey man, it's going to get a lot worse than they're doing right now. It's going to get really ugly. Well, the ugliness began with 75 basis point increases on June 16th. So it was June 16th, July 27th, September 21st, and then November 2nd. So we went with 4 straight 75 basis point increases over that span of time. The next Fed meeting now becomes December 13th and 14th, with their policy statement coming out December 14th. So the question becomes, are they going to do 75, which means they haven't changed their position yet, or are they going to do 50 or 25 or no raise at all? Which, let me just tell you this one here. No raise at all, impossible. Completely impossible. 25 basis point increase, completely impossible. I'm talking about the December 14th meeting. 50 basis point increase, that's what everything looks like as of right now, but there's a possibility of a 75 basis point increase again. So why would they go with 75 basis points again to ultimately make it 5 75 basis point increases, which is ridiculous. That's a big deal, okay? Why would they do that? Simple, because on December 13th, the inflation report comes out, okay? All of the news and everything they're going to do rides on that report on that day. If inflation comes down on December 13th, if the report for the month of November says that inflation came down, guaranteed it's a 50 basis point increase the next day, okay? If inflation stayed the same or increased, if it increased, guarantee it's a 75 basis point increase. And if it's not, and they only do 50, they're the biggest cowards on the freaking planet Earth, okay? And you're damn right I said that, okay? They gotta do 75 again. There's a lot of other things I'll go into later, or actually in other videos, as a matter of fact, but that's why you gotta keep watching all of my videos so you get the full picture of this stuff, okay? So December 13th is a huge day. What does the inflation report say? And depending on if it says it went up or stayed the same, it could be a 75 basis point increase. Now let's talk about the pivot. So ultimately, as soon as the Fed no longer does the 75 basis point increase, they only do 50, that's the pivot. That's the beginning of the turn, because when they start going to 50 and then 25 and then they start holding it, that's them signaling that they believe the need to keep raising rates to tame inflation is gone, and they believe we're sort of coming to the top and getting over the top of the hill of the roller coaster and then going down. But the thing to keep in mind is we have a long way to go, because I'm going to tell you this one. Unemployment has to get up into the 4s, 5s, and 6s to really bring inflation down. My personal opinion on inflation is I think they have to get the Fed funds rate up to almost 5 or 6%, probably closer to 6, to really crack the back of inflation and really bring it back down to the 2% mark. That's probably a little bit of a different topic, but this one's on the pivot itself. The pivot might occur December 14th. We're going to find out December 13th. Keep your eye on it. Follow all of my videos. Make sure you're subscribing and liking and sharing and commenting. And we'll see you on the next upcoming videos of what we do.